This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
What's today, Will?
It's Wild Card Wednesday.
And who do we have here with us?
Hi, I'm Kurt CoinPlant. I make satire and I review things online.
Excellent.
He gets shorter every time.
Yeah. And he covered J Station. Go check that video out. I'm going to plug that video today. It was awesome. I would plug his newest one, but I didn't really understand it because I don't have the context.
It's a bit niche.
Fair. So if you wanted to check out either of our channels, you go to YouTube, you type in CoinPlant, and he's the only channel with CoinPlant put together as one word, or at least the first one that pops up when I search it. If you type in CHRILLCAST, you might have to tell Google that you're actually looking for the CHRILLCAST and not Chromecast videos, because it keeps trying to autocorrect to Chromecast. It's an unfortunate side effect of the name of our channel, but eventually, when we get our custom URL with 4 more subscribers, we'll come up every time.
Hint, hint.
Subscribe to the channel.
You should change your name to Chromecast. Get that Chromecast clout.
Except that there's like a bajillion channels already named that, and we just the same problem that Dan had when he started his channel. There's so many Nerd Talk channels, you have a hard time finding his. So, I think he's getting better now. He's coming up higher in the search results because he's more active and more engaged.
Yeah, he is.
So that helps. But today, we're going to talk about Electronic Arts.
This is my favorite video game company.
Oh, Will. Yeah. We're about to shill for Electronic Arts.
You said Electronic Arts, the temperature in my room dropped about 40 degrees.
There you go. It's right there. That's the why it doesn't work very well. So EA's been around a long time, okay? And I doubt that the company's always been as looked at as negatively as it is nowadays. But it was originally founded and incorporated on May 27th of 1982 by ex-Apple employees. Go figure that Apple and EA would stem from similar places. So he was the company was a pioneer of the early home computer games industry and was notable for promoting the designers and programmers responsible for the games being put out on the PC. It says that they... Oh, I actually played this game. Skate or Die, which was actually ported to the NES. I don't believe it was always just an NES title. That's correct. Okay, I was right. That game was such a strange NES title. I have to say I do have memories playing it. Can't tell you if I really enjoyed it because I was too young to really understand it. But it's cool. It's okay. The games that I remember EA for are like the Need for Speed games, which have been coming out for a long time. The Sims, Medal of Honor, I did play some of those. Command & Conquer, I'm aware of, but I never really played it. Obviously Battlefield, I skipped that on accident. Dead Space, kind of a rest in peace to Visceral Studios at this point.
Yeah, that's a sad story, but I did like those games.
Mass Effect.
Same with Mass Effect.
Dragon Age. I'm really not that into Dragon Age, but I know a lot of people are. Army of Two, which they've basically just shuttered that game series. They don't do that one anymore. They should just do that, or combine Army of Two.
Oh, Titanfall! I love Titanfall.
I mean, so some of these franchises, they kind of bought the franchises by buying the developers of the games. You know, so I don't know if I count Titanfall as an EA game.
They bought Respawn, and have published Apex Legends since then. And I definitely, because of the aggressive monetization in that game, I definitely count that as an EA game.
We had that one, yeah, for sure. So then Titanfall, they got some Star Wars games. They got the EA Sports franchise, which is probably their biggest franchise still.
Cricket 07, exactly.
FIFA, Madden NFL, NBA Live, NHL, and then I didn't know that the UFC games were owned by EA as well, but they're there. They've got a ton of studios, both closed, open, and in currently acquiring. And well, what is EA famous for doing with studios they've acquired?
Shutting them down. They'll buy up a great studio. Maybe that studio will make a couple good games, then they'll make a couple terrible games, and then EA shutters them, and it destroys the studio and the IP.
What year would you say was the last year that you would walk into GameStop, see EA on front cover of a game, and said, "That's got to be a good game"?
2004.
How about you?
No, wrong. 2005.
What do you got?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'd say walking into GameStop is a mistake in and of itself.
Okay. All right. Let's just say game trailer online. When was the last time you saw a game trailer that had EA in it somewhere, and you were like, I'm going to go get that?
God, when was Battlefield Bad Company 2? When was that one? Oh,
that's a great game. I like that one.
I'd say that was the last one.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the last time I walked into a GameStop and bought a game made by EA, and I thought, I'm going to like this, was actually the Mass Effect trilogy, because it was such a good deal. And I already knew I liked Mass Effect 1 and 2. So that was, I mean, I don't know if it's a caveat because it came out after all 3 games were already out. But I already knew I liked the franchise. Now 3, if I was just going in and buying 3, I would not have had the same feeling. So maybe Mass Effect 2, because that was such a great game.
Yeah, but I didn't buy those games because of EA. I saw those because of, or got those because of BioWare.
Yeah. That's fair, but BioWare was owned by EA.
I didn't know.
You didn't even know?
No.
Okay, so if you throw that out there, the last true EA game that I bought thinking I'm very much excited to play this was Madden 08, which arguably is the best Madden. Just ask Scott the Wise. And then as far as EA, when did they kind of go off the deep end for me as far as a publishing company? Probably started with when I got Madden 15. Is when I really started to notice the differences, although I would say they dropped off way before that. Because I popped in Madden 15 in the Xbox 360. Madden 15 Xbox 360, because I still was playing my 360 when Madden 15 came out. And I saw EA Madden player card thing, and I was like, what is this? And I typed it, and it was like microtransactions on a $60 NFL Madden game. I was like, this is wrong. It's like, you can't do that. Is this for real? Ultimate Madden Team, that's what it's called, right? Ultimate Madden Team, I think that's what it's called. And I just kept thinking to myself, is this legal? Like, can they start charging me for things on a game? And then you look at the home screen and it's all focused on this Madden All-Star card game team thing. I'm like, no, I don't want this. I should get to choose what's on the home screen for Madden. I should be able to turn this feature off. Well, there's no way to do that. And I was like, well, this is scummy. And I looked at it and I was like, when did this start? And I started looking into the history and I started seeing all these other things that EA had been doing. And I was like, well, nope, I'm not buying EA sports games anymore. Like, not if they're going to do this. You know, I don't need this microtransaction on a $60 game at all. If you're going to do this, Madden should be a service game, not a yearly release game. You know, and then I looked at Call of Duty and I was like, well, Call of Duty's changed. Everything's changed. You know, EA's not Call of Duty, but same idea, right? It was what sparked my mind to, like, what are these AAA companies doing? And I was like, everybody's doing this. And then it came to a head with Star Wars Battlefront 2. And I'll let Will kind of go into that if he wants.
Battlefront 2?
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that was just such a major insult. Not only did they have just a ridiculous amount of microtransaction and loot crates, surprise mechanics. Was that EA that said that, or was that Activision? Surprise mechanics.
I don't remember.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. They tied those loot crates to progression in that game. So it really was pay to win. And you just don't do that. So it was like, they faced major backlash. I'm honestly just so disappointed in that Battlefront 2 game. Both of them were terrible, honestly. Even though it sounds great, it looks great, and the gameplay is pretty fun, they ruined it with microtransactions. But as far as when did I lose trust in EA, I started losing trust even before the microtransactions, because they just kept making the same games over and over and over, never innovating or making anything different with their sports games. It's the same game every year. Now it's the same game with less features and more microtransactions.
How about you, Coin?
Just ever since Spore, EA's really gone downhill, huh?
What year did Spore come out? I've seen this game before. I've not actually played it myself, but I've seen a lot of people play it.
2004, maybe.
Okay.
That is just a bit of a joke, but I mean, honestly, it's like I don't feel like I can even contribute to this conversation. EA is just this indomitable force of evil that I can't even. It's like,
yeah,
it's dread. It's pure evil. I hate it.
I think the less EA touches a game developed by one of their developers, the better.
Yeah.
Because they own some great companies like Respawn, BioWare.
DICE was good.
All these were better when EA had less impact. When they started requiring the Frostbite engine so they wouldn't have to pay licensing to Unreal Engine 4, that's a problem. That's a problem. Use the engine that works the best for your game. Don't.
Yeah, well, when it's not designed for an entire, like it's designed for one genre, and you're trying to cram every other genre into that game engine, it doesn't work.
So, we all have like these opinions of EA, but it doesn't come from one game or two games. It comes from years of
them doing this,
messing with your customer base. All right, so let's go back and let's talk about EA Sports. All right, when EA Sports first became a thing, right? They did the Madden games. I think that was their first true EA Sports game, was a Madden game. All right, they licensed John Madden's name for the sports games because he had such a big name in football at the time. And he only has, honestly, if I didn't know about Madden football games, John Madden, that name would mean nothing to me at this point, because I grew up without that, like, being such a big name in sports, except for the Madden games. And his legacy lives on because of EA Sports using that name every year for their football games. But EA has some horrible practices on how they acquire the licenses. They basically say, we want the monopoly on sports games. So they buy the monopoly from the NFL, from basketball, but they really haven't won that one yet. And then like hockey, they do the same thing. And the reason why you have Major League Baseball by Sony is because they bought the third-party publishing rights. So if NFL, let's say Xbox wanted to make their own NFL game, they still could. If Sony still wanted to make their own NFL game, they still could. But EA is so dominating in there that the only company that ever went toe-to-toe with them, which was, I think, some ESPN-funded game, I think it was ESPN Hall of Fame or football or something. 05 is the last one they made. And there's 2K Sports made their own version too. But ever since 05, you won't see any of them come out anymore, because EA bought this exclusive license, and there's no way for 2K or ESPN to compete anymore. And they try to do this with all the sports they can, because 2K had a better engine, they had a better game, and so did ESPN, I think. I'm going to look this up because I've seen a video on it before. I'm kind of talking off the cuff here, but overall, EA's practices with sports games are very scummy, but it's business minded, and it makes sense why you'd want to be the only game in town. I'm not going to fault them for wanting to be the only game in town.
Their MO is, how do we make as much money, and if making more money by screwing over the customer base is the way to do it, then they're happy to do that. And the thing is, we'll get backlash on these sports games because people buy these things every year. They love these sports games, and they love spending money on these microtransactions, even though they don't seem to realize that they can't even customize their players anymore without paying for it. If you go back to like the Xbox or 360 games, you could customize the teams, you could customize the uniforms, you could customize your character. You could have career modes. You can have franchise modes or whatever, where you actually saw like the person's house and like decorate your house with trophies and stuff. That doesn't exist anymore. And we have far more powerful systems. So what's going on?
So here's the answer. It was ESPN, NFL, 2K5. So they were combined together. 2K Sports and ESPN got together with Sega and the developer Visual Concepts. And actually the poll that was taken by IGN when EA got the exclusive license was, who makes the better game? And it was resoundingly 2K made a better ESPN game. So I think EA did this as a power play to prevent 2K from taking the entire industry. Because if you look, this game on Amazon is still $45. How much do you think EA Sports Madden 2005 is worth? Probably like $5. It's just, it makes sense. This other developer that was better. It makes sense that EA would have tried to take this, because if they're going to lose the market share of football, it's a big deal. I mean, from 05 till now, it's still one of the best-selling games every year. So, yeah, I mean, if you go back and play this, the two games side by side, I've seen some. I think you can actually find that on YouTube. 2K looks way better. It's a fact. It just looks so much better.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like, you go to a local GameStop, the second you walk in the door, the employees are chucking unused copies of Madden 2005 like frisbees. They're throwing them out the door.
Yeah, well, at least last year's Madden, they're always in the bargain bins for like $1.
Yeah, here's the side by side.
I will never get it, but I do recognize that probably a lot of success of the series is definitely the Madden title. If they called it something like Old Pigskin 2006, probably wouldn't buy that game. Probably nobody would buy that game, actually.
I would agree.
They're just showing it's a better, like, an overall better engine now, like, then.
It's still a better engine. Game. It still plays better. If you go back and buy, like, I've been considering buying this game for a while, actually, because I think it'd be fun to see what it was like. The engine is better than even 15. It looks better. I mean, this is bad. I mean, the mechanics in 15 are not much better than 2K5. I mean, there's a reason why EA had to buy the exclusive license. Because how do you compete with the better game?
I remember when they talked about how they couldn't put all, like, for the Pro Bowl, how they have all the different helmets. They couldn't actually load all the helmets in, so they don't have the Pro Bowl in one of the years.
That's ridiculous to me.
Recently, yeah, it's like, well, we've used up all of our graphic space in the engine. It's like, what are you talking about?
It's because they're using the Frostbite engine. This looks way smoother.
Well, this just brings back
and it's
memories.
2005.
This game.
That's just sad.
I remember this, actually, I've seen this game being played before by, like, friends and family, like, at a gathering. There's, like, a room with an Xbox, and they're playing, like, that exact game. I just never knew. Yeah, I guess it was just such a great game that everybody's like, yeah, we'll play this one.
It's just
2010. We're just gonna keep playing this one.
So yeah, that was the last year that they were allowed. And look, you got it in widescreen. Even it was playing in widescreen back in the day. And you can play it in the 4:3 or the 16:9, whichever you prefer, because it was on the Xbox, and yeah, and the PS2, and I want to say it was on the GameCube, but I'm not 100% sure. So after EA made their power move on football, 2K jumped in and said, well, we want basketball. So that's why you have NBA 2K games, because they wanted basketball. So they jumped in and protected themselves to keep their 2K sports brand alive. So EA has had a massive impact on sports and video games, just by that alone. And we've already talked about EA's impact on companies they've purchased. They basically shut them down if they don't make them money, or if they don't make perceived enough money.
DICE is soon to be gone.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
The Battlefield game, it made the second one. It was supposed to like sell something like 10 million copies, and it sold 7 million copies, and that wasn't enough. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, EA is just, you don't want to get purchased by EA for the same reason Bungie doesn't want to get purchased by Activision, because luckily for Bungie, they have enough going on with themselves that they can survive not doing well for a AAA developer, or arguably not doing well by either AAA developer, even though they actually did do pretty well for what Destiny was. But I'm going to let Coin talk here, because we've been kind of monopolizing our time here.
No, it's your guys' show. I do think it is very sad, the current state of BioWare, especially. It feels like they've been put in timeout, like they're in purgatory, stuck working on Anthem for a while, and they're like, gotta make this work, and there's no, I don't think there's any path you can take to make that, tire fire work. But
well, supposedly they're working on Mass Effect 4 now.
Oh god, please.
And Dragon Age, whatever number.
Mass Effect 4. So they're just deciding. They're pulling a Rise of Skywalker. They're like, no, the previous incarnation, it didn't count, didn't matter. We're just gonna
Andromeda. They're gonna throw out everything in Andromeda. From what I read, the developer said Andromeda doesn't count.
You know, here's my problem with Andromeda, because it's a bad game, but it had some mechanics from a game I really enjoyed, Kingdoms of Amalur. It had some like leveling mechanics and combat mechanics that were sort of shared from that, which is another game EA published. So there were good ideas there, but I swear to God, everything EA touches with its hand of greedy monetization, just it falls into decrepit waste, and it's the worst. Yeah. And that's all I got to say.
So if they do scrap Andromeda's engine and go back to whatever they used for the Mass Effect engines for 1 and 2 and 3, or some upgraded version of that, and they go back to that version of the game, I didn't like the I like the over the shoulder of the Mass Effect games versus what they did with Andromeda, which was like a third person omnipotent kind of look. You know what I'm talking about, Will?
Yeah.
But that's more of a stylistic thing that I preferred about Mass Effect. And then I just didn't feel like it was a Mass Effect game. I felt like it was in the Mass Effect universe, but I didn't feel like it was a Mass Effect game.
It was more actiony and less like dialogue choices and actually branching paths and being involved in the actual universe.
Yeah, all the characters in Mass Effect Andromeda were just cardboard cutouts. Yeah. Like, especially the main character. And that's definitely something that Mass Effect should never be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a space adventure where your choices matter, and they don't just all amount to a different Instagram filter you can put on the ending of your third game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was so excited about Anthem for, was I thought Anthem was going to be that style of game, but with some online elements. And then they were like, nope, that's not what this is. And I was like, come on, this looks really good, like beautiful as far as cinematics go and graphics. And then they're like, nope, it's an MMO like Destiny. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to play it.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, when I played through Anthem, I was like, who was this made for? Who enjoys this?
Made for like the three Warframe players who were like, yeah, I mean, I like it. It's just got too much story and not enough grinding. And, yeah.
So what do we think the future of EA and Activision and the AAA developers, what's going to happen to them? Let's just keep it short, but what's our prediction? Like, are we going to see more Jedi Fallen Order, Need for Speed Heat? Are we going to see more Destiny? Or are these developers going to go by the wayside and indie developers will rule the world? What do you think?
I have 3 predictions, or 3 possible predictions, I guess. 1, they're just going to keep repeating these mistakes until they go bankrupt. 2, they're going to put out several games for a few years that are actually like their old games, are really good, build up their reputation again, and they're just going to switch right back to monetization. Or 3, they're going to actually do the right thing, or maybe like a make sense type situation where, again, more Jedi Fallen Order, more Need for Speed Heat, and they're actually going to put their heads back onto their shoulders.
Get off from a different place far lower.
Yeah, exactly. And start making good games again. Games that people can just enjoy. Instead of like these games all this controversy, and you're going to get backlash. And instead of relying on microtransactions to make all the money, just make a good game, and then people will buy it.
Yeah. What about you, Coin?
I have so little faith in AAA developers at this point. I don't think there's a single AAA developer that I trust anymore. And that's not really hyperbole. I just can't think of one. So I think the future of AAA development, unfortunately, I think it's just going to continue. I think they're going to continue with anti-consumer practices, and indie developers are going to have to be the evolution of it. AAA companies will run themselves into the ground.
When you consider that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are AAA companies, I would say I have faith in those 3 companies.
You know what? I completely forgot about Nintendo. Because they're so mild. I didn't even consider them a AAA company. But Yeah, I have faith in Nintendo.
I mean, their Pokemon stuff's a little iffy right now, but
that game was made for microtransactions, though. I mean, Pokemon was like I appreciate the fact that they've never done it prior to this new series of Pokemon, but that type of game is like geared for that.
You want to take a bet that the next Mario Kart's gonna have microtransactions in it?
No, because they already got the phone game for that.
Yeah, but that's where they're testing it.
Let me just
you're here to hear first.
Miyamoto himself has said, on our games on our own platform, we will never have those types of extremely predatory microtransactions. What Nintendo has done with Pokemon so far is we've added a DLC with a bunch of extra Pokemon in it. It's not like
it's all the ones they took out.
Yes, but what I'm saying is it's not the same as, you can pay for a randomized possibility of getting Charizard. They haven't done that yet, okay? So I still have some faith in Nintendo, even with Pokemon.
I'm not knocking Nintendo. Like, I still love that company, but I'm just worried about it. Did you hear that Microsoft is working on a quadruple A game?
Future.
Yeah.
Future.
What does that
I don't
mean?
know what that means.
It means
it'll be $120.
If people go at their AAA games, their quadruple A games will get a response more in line with like because there's more A's involved.
That's pretty funny.
Oh man, when you stick to 2 A's though, it's a different story altogether. Anyways, I'm completely embracing the indie world takeover with gaming, and then Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo can keep doing what they're doing because their first party games tend to be very good. And I definitely have no qualms with most of the first party titles I've seen coming out in the near future.
I'm worried about Halo having microtransactions, but that's another
for
story.
5 already did it, so
not terribly. It was very frustrating because I liked actually earning my armor sets, and the fact that you had to like grind and like have it randomized, that sucked. But at least it wasn't linked to progression. I'm worried that the next one will be linked to progression.
Oof. So I think EA, Activision, all these companies, but EA especially, they get voted as like the worst company in the U.S. every year. I mean, they hit the top of the list, and they're a video games company, so that should tell you something. It's an entertainment company that gets voted the worst company every year. That's a problem. You got to fix that. And games like Jedi Fallen Order, games like Need for Speed Heat, games like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, not the Crash Bandicoot Nitro Racing. We're gonna set that aside in the corner somewhere because there's some DLC thing going on there. I don't know what's going on with that, but I haven't bought it because I'm waiting to see what they do. But the Insane trilogy, things like that, where it's just a solid, complete game where I don't have to be inundated with microtransactions and other things, I'm on board with that. If EA can go back to those style games, if they don't mess up KOTOR, I might have some respect for them again, based on those games. What's your final take, Will?
I thought I already gave it.
Okay, then Coin, what's your final take?
EA equal bad.
No hope of coming back for
Exceptionally awful. That's what that stands for.
That's true.
With that being said, as always, I'm Chris.
And I'm Will. All right.
And Coin's not saying anything, so we will see you
on the next CHRILLCAST.
Exactly.